Being a boss looks good on Instagram, but behind the scenes, it's costing us a lot more. Today on Beyond the Brand, I'm sitting down with Carmen Jones, CEO of the Black Girl Social Club, an unapologetic truth teller. Trust me, we're going to talk about what it really means to run a business, and I do mean what it really means. From digging into your personal savings just to make payroll to emotional breakdowns and team chaos. This episode is raw, it's real, and it's exactly the kind of conversation we need more of in branding and entrepreneurship. Let's go beyond the brand. How you doing, Carmen?
Hello. How are you?
I am simply amazing. Even though I ordered some food at Chick-fil-A today and it didn't go quite how I wanted. So,
Really?
it was their pleasure, but it wasn't my pleasure. You know what I mean?
That is very unlike them. That's unlike them.
Yeah, I mean, typically, standardly, when you go to Chick-fil-A, you're going to get what you want, especially if you order it in a mobile app beforehand.
Yes.
But I was missing condiments. I'm not even going to go there.
They were having
Yeah,
a bad day. I'm going to say they were having a bad day
that's
because Chick-fil-A
all it
usually
was.
delivers.
They're on
They
point.
usually deliver.
They deliver with the service. They deliver with the product. They deliver with smiles and everything, but not today.
Oh, man. Well, I'm sorry for you. Maybe next time.
It's all good. It's all good. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Busy day. I went and did some things for the business today, for the organization, scouting out locations for our upcoming event. Hope
Nice.
y'all join us. We're doing a plant and sip.
Okay.
And so we have a lot in the works. So I'm excited. But I'm here. I'm happy to be here with you. This is the last thing on my calendar for today. So I'm
Love it.
ending my day in a great way.
I love it. I love it. Real quick, just for the people who don't quite know what it is you do, tell us a little bit more about your business and the sip and paint that you guys are planning.
Hey y'all, so my name is Carmen. I'm the founder and CEO of the Black Girl Social Club. It is a social club for women started here in Atlanta, but we're worldwide now.
Okay.
Yes. And so we have several thousand members around the globe, Black women coming together to do our thing, be amongst each other, let our hair down. So check us out at the Black Girl Social Club. That's a little bit about what I do.
Nice. I love it. And for those of you who haven't had the pleasure of meeting me, my name is Brinson. I'm a brand strategist. I have 20 plus years in marketing and helping businesses develop and grow their brand. And now I'm full time into it, helping people establish themselves even further and find out who they truly are so that they can shine a little bit more in their personal brand. So, Carmen, I was saying at the beginning how connecting with people in person or online, a lot of times nowadays, they want to do business, you want to network, you want to connect and develop a relationship, but it all kind of ends the night that you have the event or where you meet the person on a virtual call or whatever. Why do you think that is amongst entrepreneurs nowadays where you have all of this good energy going on and you make connections, exchange information, and then it just fizzles out?
People are tired. People are exhausted. It takes a lot of effort to stay in community and connected with people, right? And so, to your point, it's really something that you have to be intentional about in this day and age. It's not like the old days where you meet people and the community is so close knit, and you don't have the social media,
Right.
the ease of hitting somebody up via DM. Back in the day, you had to, if you wanted to maintain connections, you had to go see about that person, right?
Yeah.
And so now we don't have to do that. And I really think it's convenient, but I think that we're doing ourselves a disservice by being so disconnected.
Yeah.
We have to make time to touch base with the people that we want to be in community with.
And I brought that up for a specific reason to get into our conversation, right? The title of this is The Cost of Entrepreneurship. And I think so often people just see the glitz and the glamour. Oh, I get to set my own schedule. I'm going on vacation. You can't tell me nothing. I'm the boss, right? But they're not thinking about all of the different layers that come along with that, right? So, like, I know for me specifically, I had a lot of growth during COVID, having a virtual, digital based business. And I had to scale. I started hiring people. I got into the rhythm of, expanding my customer base and doing a lot more than I had ever done in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that came with headaches. like for those of you who are not entrepreneurs or looking to get into starting a business, or maybe you are a business owner but you don't have employees, making payroll. Good Jesus, I need to put a sermon on or something. What's some gospel music? That is a whole trip. Like,
It's your
and
biggest
it's every
expense.
time too. It doesn't go
Yeah,
away.
it's your biggest expense. You are sweating every time the first and the 15th comes around, hoping that you're able to make
Right.
payroll, hoping that you're able to pay your employees on time, your contractors on time. And it's not just, and what a lot of people don't know is you're not, or don't, I don't think, realize is you're not just paying your staff money.
Mm,
You're
mm.
paying, like we said, experts and contractors. So you might be paying up. You might have a lawyer
Ooh.
on payroll.
Oh God,
You might
please.
have an accountant on payroll. You might have a tech person on standby. You might have there's so many. You might have an advisor.
Hmm.
There's things that unseen hidden costs associated with business ownership, right?
Yeah.
Something else that's on regular pay
Hmm.
is your Zoom account, your
Oh
email
Jesus.
accounts, your Slack account. These things are
Software subscriptions.
software
Yeah.
subscriptions. These are your costs to do business, to function. And so, yeah, every month you kind of get on edge, and, depending on what's going on, and, you think God or whoever it is that you believe in, and you say, okay, we made it through this month.
What's crazy is like that's every level. A lot of people think it's just, oh, it's when you're starting out or when you don't have, millions of dollars or whatever. I know bosses who are on every level and they're all facing similar
Yeah.
things. This is the reason why a conglomerate like Bank of America or DocuSign or Facebook will lay off 16,000 people in a year.
Right.
They're trying to balance the books.
They're trying to balance something. Right, exactly. No matter how big or small, this is, I think a lot of black owned businesses, small businesses, but black owned businesses get a bad rep of
Mhm.
like, oh, they don't want to pay or they don't want to, whatever. This is something, and I've talked to people, like you said, at all levels that exist.
Mhm.
Money is always a discussion when you're running a business or organization. And just,
Yeah, period.
yeah.
It has to be. Otherwise, what are you doing? The whole purpose of having a business is to generate revenue. And as you generate that revenue, you have expenses that come along with that. I think we could probably spend 45 minutes just listing them out because it's never ending, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I want the people that are listening in live to put any questions that you have in the chat because I guarantee you there are some other people out here who are going through whatever you're experiencing as it relates to like the stresses of trying to run a business and some of the things that you run into, right? You talk about lead gen, you talk about marketing. I mean, it's so many varying levels of what you have to do just to be a business owner. That's why I said in the graphic, like we scratched out the hustle piece because we got to get out of this hustle mentality.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people focus on working in the business instead of working on the business and vice versa,
Yeah.
right?
And that's easy to do. I mean, I'm gonna be real
Hmm.
with you. That's very easy to do because, well, one, if you don't have the right team, you can
Oh,
get sucked into being in the business,
yes.
in the mess, in the minutia
Mm,
of what's happening because you might not have the right team. So
yeah.
things that they should be handling, you now as the boss, the CEO, the owner, the founder, whoever, have to put your hands on things that you really shouldn't be putting your hands on. So, to your point, the role of the person at the top is to push the mission forward, push the organization forward, find partnerships, create brand awareness, help the mission and the product or whatever grow,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And when you have to be deep in the weeds, you will find that your organization won't grow the way that you want it to. So my recommendation is definitely get a solid team of people who know what they're doing, you know, and not just people that just want to help.
Yeah.
Because
yeah. Or not just your cousin who said, I can help you out with social media, but they don't know anything about it.
yeah, you know, and I have wasted money doing that, right? You know, hiring somebody, hey, okay, she said you can do it. But, you know, really be serious and intentional about who you make a part of your team, because in the long run, it's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, and for those people out here who are like, I'm nowhere near that level where I can hire somebody, or I don't have a team, it's just me, I'm doing this on my own, solopreneur. There will come a time where you've made enough where you have to find somebody that can help you to continue to grow. Just don't be afraid to delegate. And I understand that some people have to have trust with certain things and you want it done a certain way. Eventually, you're going to have to learn to let certain things go. Otherwise, your company will never be able to thrive in the way it's supposed to.
Yep.
So, on that note, just curious about like some of your history in growing your company, and I mean, I'm pretty sure you've had companies before that and you've experienced what it's like to be an entrepreneur. What would you say to somebody who's just now getting started and they're like still figuring out their brand and their logo and all of that? They don't really know how to get to a level where they can even hire somebody because they're at the beginning. What are your thought processes on like tips that they should have, or maybe like pitfalls to avoid in the process of starting up a business?
Oh, that's a good one. And so I'll just say that when I started this organization, for me, it wasn't money wasn't the foundation of why I started the business, but for I think most entrepreneurs, money is the motive, right? Because to your point, why start a business if you're not looking to make some income, right? So for me, the way that this current business started was I was feeling a need and a void. And I think that's how all good businesses start anyway. But for me, there was a need for community. I wanted community. So I started a business or an organization that I wanted to be a part of, right? And it just so happened that the demand grew so much that I had to make it my sole job, so to speak, right? Because if I didn't spend all day doing it, then it wouldn't have functioned the way that it's functioning now. So I had to like literally quit my job to come do this because of the growth, and I didn't want to see it fail.
And that's, you bring up a good point, not to cut you off. I'm curious on that because I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. You know, they want the growth of being able to see their business explode, but they're still tied to a 9 to 5. They're still trying to figure out if this is what they really want to do. They have their hands in so many pots, they can't really put the focus and the energy on this one pot to make it what it's supposed to be. Right. And I know that, you know, we all wear a lot of hats, especially as a business owner. Sometimes you have to be the only person doing marketing, even though that's not your strength. Sometimes you have to be your accountant before you can afford a CPA. You know, sometimes you have to do your own legal work and
Listen,
check GPT.
everything that happens at this organization, I did first. I did. And that's what I like to tell my team. I was like, there's nothing here that's being done that I haven't done already.
Right.
And I want that to be very clear, because I think that a lot of times when you do hire people, they think, well, you know, the boss don't know anything. They not on feet on the ground. I guarantee you the boss has had their feet on the ground in the mud.
Yeah, right. Everywhere.
Before you got there, right?
Period.
And so, yeah, I think when we finally do get to a point where you can kind of loosen the reins a little bit and have people that come in and support you, that's a huge blessing. But it takes, for some people, it takes longer to get there. And that's okay. But I yeah.
I was just gonna say it's absolutely okay, and I think too often in this microwave society, we want instantaneous glory. And, I just read a report the other day about the CEO, the founder of FedEx, and how they got started and where they were. They were $1 million company, had raised all kind of money, and they were still struggling as a business to, be in the black or be in the green, so to speak. And so I read a report that they were down to their last $5,000 at one point, like cash flow. And the guy who's running the company is just like at his wits' ends. He takes a trip to Vegas with that $5,000, plays blackjack, wins $27,000 on some change, and use that to fuel the company to keep it going.
Story.
Like,
what a story.
He could have quit, and we would not know about FedEx right now. It would be a failed company. But
that is the kind of grit that's required for someone who has a vision, right?
Right.
That's the kind of grit that people will talk about for years to come, decades to come. Because to your point, a lot of people, they get a little bit of hardship and they're ready to throw in the towel. Yeah. There's many times I think the average person, some of the things that I've experienced in this role, I think the average person would just straight up quit.
Oh my God. Tell me about it.
And I'm the kind of person where I take a little challenge as a dare. And I'm like, hey, okay, so you thought I couldn't. Universe, right. Devil, whoever,
right. What's happening?
Hater, you thought we couldn't keep it going. Oh, we're going to keep this going because the mission and the purpose is greater than all of that.
That's so big. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. Like, that's the thing that keeps you going when tough times come, because they will come. Notice I didn't say if tough time come, like when tough times come. And at the end of the day, your why, your the thing that's driving you, the thing that's basically putting you in this position to hopefully try to influence and impact some people, because there's no point in having a business if you're not trying to impact and like basically influence people to be better and inspire people. Right. And I'm not saying that to sound all Robin Hoodish and all of that. The bottom line is this: whether you create a product or whether you have a service that you're selling, whether it's an experience that you're selling, etc., within your business, it has to be doing something for somebody else.
It has to be people-centered. Yeah. Everything that you do is a service. Everything that you do is a service. And that is what keeps me going. And I told my COO today, I said, when we wake up in the morning, we have to pray that God gives us that God centers us and reminds us of our purpose. Yeah. Because it's easy to get sidetracked and you get annoyed and, oh my God, this inconvenience and this challenge. But why did you start this thing in the first place? Yeah. That is what should continue to keep you moving and pushing. For me, when I wake up, I say, okay, I got some Black women. Okay. We need to get together. They need to get together and have a good time. We have some Black women that need to let their hair down. We have some Black women that we want to teach, whether it be professional development, mental, emotional wellness. We have a mission. Right. And especially during this time where Black people need to be coming together more than ever. Right. Right. Our mission is doubly, triply, quadruply important. Yeah. And so I'm in my bag this year because I have always loved Black people. I've always been pro-Black. I have a special place in my heart for Black women because we have a very unique circumstance in this country and across the diaspora. Yeah. And my mission is to make sure that Black women feel seen, heard, and valued. If they ain't seen, heard, and valued anywhere else, just okay. Black girl social.
Period. Okay? Period. And that's in your veins, right? That's the part of what's driving you. So, when that revenue gets a little low and you're wondering like how you're going to make payroll, not saying that you are there or have, whatever, but the bottom line is, so, okay. So that's my point. When that happens, you pick up that grit, you find a way to push through and make it happen.
So I have dug into my personal account more than I can count. Right. To pay staff, to pay contractors, we had a conference in 2022 where I can talk about it now and actually say the name of who is who. We had a guest and a keynote speaker, Megan Good at the time, who 30 days prior to the conference that we had booked, paid, done all these things, canceled.
Oh
okay.
my God.
So at this point, it's our first conference. We're in a tizzy. We're like, oh my gosh. And so who can we find? So I had to use my connections, to your point of getting to know people, making sure you're out there, making sure that people trust you and that you are doing right by people.
Yeah.
Because I had to make a few phone calls, but we were able to get Tabitha Brown as our keynote.
Nice.
Now, Tabitha Brown is a lot more expensive than Megan Good.
Right.
So I had to ask myself, as the CEO and somebody who was doing their first conference, because now my brand is on the line, our brand is on the line, our organization is on the line. People don't want to do business with people who do bad business.
Right.
So,
not to add the fact that you're Black on top of that, and there's always this stigma, and it's like, so you want to show up and show out.
Right. So I'm like, we got to do this. Is going to happen by the hair of my chinny chin chin.
Right.
Okay. And so what I did was I said, somebody told me, my COO at the time, she said, well, we should just cancel. I said, we're not canceling this conference. So I pulled the money I had, the little money I had in my savings, and I paid the balance for Tabitha Brown to come. Now it put me down almost zero. But I did it, and I'm not, and what I'm telling that story, not because I'm recommending that people do that. What I'm saying is I was crazy enough to do it, and it worked, and I was able to pay myself back eventually. But
you took a hit. You took a hit so that the business could survive.
Yeah, I didn't pay myself back for several years, and there's been where I wasn't getting paid at all, so I could pay my staff. So I'm saying all that to say that if I wanted to quit, I could have already quit, gone back to a 9-to-5 where I was having a regular check with health insurance. Okay.
Right. Which is another big thing.
Right. But as people with vision and passion about things, we sacrifice those things so that we can make the vision come to life for the people that we're serving.
That's a great point. It's not for ourselves. And I think a lot of business owners get confused about what they're doing. Like they just want to see green, right? They want to gain momentum. Maybe some people are shooting for the fame and the celebrity that comes with some of the influence that they might have. Primarily people say, oh, I just want to be comfortable. I don't need $4 billion. Just give me, and then they come up with a number because that number has their mindset on safety, relaxation, comfortability. I can take a vacation. I can buy a car if I want to. But what are you willing to give up for that? What is the cost of getting to that comfortability state? And then it's not a plateau that you hit and just stake your tent and rest. No, there's still a mountain in front of you that you got to climb called you got taxes to pay, called, hey, that person canceled on you and now you got to pull out of your savings account to make it all happen. Or your number one person didn't show up, so now you got to jump back into the fire. So now so there's so many different elements that come along with that. Those are what we call the cost of entrepreneurship. So don't get it twisted. It's not all peaches and cream to be able to roll out of the bed at 10:30 a.m. and say, I guess I'll start my day.
Let's talk about the mental and emotional toll of that too. Because it's not just, I don't want to, it's not just the money, it's the emotional impact.
Yeah.
The depression, the anxiety, the worrying about, if this person likes me. And this is the one thing you have to just completely get rid of when you when you're a leader or you're an owner. You cannot be sitting around thinking about who don't like you and who does.
I'm walking off.
You just can't. You just can't. You have to make, you just can't.
Because it's going to happen anyway.
It's going to happen anyway. And so what I'm saying is do business right. Treat people how you want to be treated. But when you have when the choice is, or the, I guess what am I looking for? When the decision is between keeping your dream alive, keeping the mission alive, continuing to be able to serve your people versus somebody liking you.
Yeah.
You need to choose the thing that God put on your heart.
Okay.
And the purpose that you're supposed to be walking in.
Period. Period. Because I'm telling you, if you get caught up in the lights and the comments and the metrics and who saw you, who didn't, what you're going to end up doing is making your decisions based off of what people are thinking. Or, matter of fact, half the time is what you think they're thinking. It's not even what they actually think. Right? Or somebody misconstrues something you say and now they take it down a rabbit hole. Like, it's so many elements. But to your point, going back to the mental health and the emotional wellness that's necessary, I think any strong person in those areas can come into entrepreneurship or owning a business and then find themselves on their knees, right? Or find themselves in depression. The reality is you have to make time for self, make time for family, make time for vacation, make time to, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, Carmen. I have 15-minute breaks baked in throughout my day. I make sure I take an hour lunch. You know what I mean? Sometimes I will just block my calendar off and do nothing. And when I say do nothing,
I was gonna say
I'm talking about
like 2 hours. But no, because I had gotten to the point where I was working.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to end up, I almost was close to a nervous breakdown. I was in therapy, and my therapist literally prescribed, you have a set time that you have to close your laptop.
No. Yeah.
And I had to like close my laptop at a certain time throughout the week, because if I was working from sun up to sundown, working out, I was eating well, I was stressed, depressed, and I had to realize, like, you can't be no good to anybody else. You can't be even doing this service that you're talking about if you're not mentally, physically, emotionally well.
Yeah. Period. I liken it to like an airplane ride. You know, when you hit some turbulence and things are looking bad in your business, what do they tell you to do? Put your oxygen mask on first. Don't try to put it on a child or elderly person next to you, because if you can't breathe, then how can you help anybody?
And how is your team going to breathe?
Right.
So the thing is, now your team is in chaos because you're in chaos. Now your organization is in chaos, or your business or whatever. And it really does trickle down, and you have to show up. And that's another thing that puts the pressure on leaders, is no matter what kind of day you're having, you're expected to show up a certain way.
How can I help you?
As the leader, it is your job to do.
Yeah.
You don't complain to your staff. You don't get to, have an excuse.
Right.
And that is a huge pressure, because you might be having a bad day. You might come off a little snippy, but as the supervisor, the boss, or whoever, people don't want to see that from you.
Right. And your clients don't either. Right. So for those people who don't have, employees and things of that nature, not only do your clients not want to get the distastefulness that can come out of your bitterness from being exhausted mentally, physically, and spiritually, but also your vendors, the people who serve you, your CPA, your lawyer, all of these people that can help you out, right? They don't want to hear what you have going on from a negative standpoint. So you got to be poised enough to figure out how to balance that out in the moment and keep that train moving, right? And it's going to hit you. The train going to come through.
Listen, right? I had a what I refer to as a crash out call with my team. And that's when I made the decision to hire someone to help support my team with me. Because what happened was, I was so frustrated and bogged down and tired and exhausted. And I just felt like my team wasn't understanding. And it was a combination of things. They were used to doing things a certain way, right? And when you try to bring change, as you know, sometimes it doesn't work out, right? Your team is like, well, wait, now we gotta clock our hours now,
right? So I gotta prove that I'm making this money,
right? And so then, but also realized that I didn't necessarily have all the systems and processes in place to set them up for success. Mm-hmm. So I had a crash out call that I refer to now, is where I was on this call going in on my team, like, listen, we got to do better. We got this. We got that. Like, this, we got to, and after the call, I had to send an email to the team and say, look, y'all, I'm sorry. I didn't handle that the best way. Mm-hmm. I'm going to bring
you were growing, though. Yeah. You were growing.
I'm going to bring somebody in to help us be and do better.
Yeah, and to that point, I guess I'm gonna label it that I had a crash out call myself, but it was based off of something a little bit different. I had a meeting planned with a very important potential client, and we went through all these strategies and all this stuff. And the day of the meeting, I'm running around like crazy. I finally get myself situated. I'm on my laptop. The customer is already on the call. They got 3 people. It's just me. I have a team of 6 supposed to be joining. I'm by myself for like 10 minutes. I'm like, they'll be here in a minute, guys. I'm texting. I'm like, what's happening? Whatever. Let me just keep this train moving because as the CEO, I've worn all these hats before. I can wear them right now in this call, right? Mm-hmm. After that call, I was more red than this maroon shirt I got. I was fuming. I mean, you would have thought that I was the Harrison Ford version of the Hulk or something. Like, I'm running around like trying to get people. I said, emergency meeting now. Yeah. I get everybody on this call.
Everybody on the Zoom call.
Right now.
We got a problem.
What's happening? Man, I let them have it, right? Because I was frustrated. They told me they were going to be there and they weren't. And I was very upset. But here's the point I'm getting to. So your email was like my own internal self-check. So I had to pause and I said, okay, what role did I have to play in this? Did I cash vision properly? Did I set them up for success? Did I make sure everybody had the calendar invite? Because that was the issue. My company email had some calendar issue or whatever. So nobody had the invite. That was on me. I knew about that. I didn't fix it before that. So sometimes as a business owner, you got to take a back seat and be a little humble, and you got to recognize that you can do stuff better.
First of all, I just want to be very clear that all being a business owner, like one of the top 3 principles I'd say is humility. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Because all day you have people telling you what you could do better. You have people, some people might be coming at you in the wrong way, but you have to humble yourself to be the quote unquote bigger person, right? All business ownership, entrepreneurship, leadership is humility at its finest.
Yeah, it's synonymous with it.
Yeah, because the things that you would typically want to say or do, you can't do at your business, right?
Not at all.
It's a lot of biting your tongue. It's a lot of trying to see how you can make the situation right, even if you didn't make the situation wrong. It's a lot of getting feedback. So I would say if you are not a humble person or someone who can take that kind of feedback, then you definitely shouldn't be in leadership or entrepreneurship.
And to that point, I was listening to something on the way home today, preparing for this call, and they brought up some amazing points about what you just said. The perseverance that's necessary as a boss, as a company owner, it only comes by dealing with adversity in that way. The patience, the humility, all of those things are learned along the way, even if you have some flavor of it to start with. It's a whole different beast when it's your company, your baby. You put all this energy, time, and equity into it, and all of a sudden you're dealing with things that have nothing to do with what you've done, so to speak.
I'm gonna be very honest because that's how I am. I didn't have any patience when I started.
Okay.
6 years ago.
She's like 0.
That is not a quality that a lot of people would describe me as having. They will say that I'm kind, I'm intelligent, I'm, unique. There's a lot of things, I'm social. There's a lot of ways to describe me. Patient isn't one of them.
Right.
Okay. So
you had to learn that.
Yeah, I had to learn it on the way, along the way. And I will say that being an entrepreneur makes you a better person if you let it.
Period.
It allows you to have a lot of self-reflection. It allows for you to see things from different perspectives. And you have to be better to be in entrepreneurship, to deal with people, because you are dealing with people on a regular basis.
Period. I don't care if you're selling a hair product. You're going to have to deal with a person at some point. And to that point, I will say this to business owners who are listening in. Stop being afraid to show your face. I don't care how magical your service or product is. It cannot live on the breath of your logo alone. You have to be out here. You have to begin to voice your thoughts. You have to begin to illustrate who you are as a person, because that is your brand, actually. And that is what's going to propel everything behind it.
Learned that.
Yeah. No, I mean, but that's the reason I brought it up. A lot of people don't know that. And they feel like, oh, well, I can just sell my service and do my thing and stay back here. Yes, you can. And guess what? You might reach a certain level of success. But at some point down the line, you're going to have to interact with a human being.
And that was actually the hardest thing, one of the hardest things for me to do, because I wanted to be in the background. I did not want to, I didn't want people to know I was the founder.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to do the work on the back end.
Right.
And as we continued to grow, people wanted to know who was behind this. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of forced in the spotlight, where it was like, we want to interview you. We want you to show up to these events. We want you to sit on a panel. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And like, okay, I guess I gotta do it. Who else is going to do it? Right? But to your point, what I found out and realized was, as a business owner, entrepreneur, founder, whoever, you have to shape your own narrative. You have to tell your own story. If you don't, people will try to do it for you.
Oh no, they absolutely will. Period.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah, and to that point, doing that makes you sharper and prepared for those lights and cameras and all of that stuff. Because I guarantee you, if Oprah's management team called you and said, "Hey, we need to pull you on the show because you started the Black Girl Social Club," all right, let's go.
Now I'm going to see Oprah now.
Right. But by already having your feet moving in that direction, you're prepared for that call. And so that's pretty much what entrepreneurship is. It's preparing you for where you're going along the way. So don't look at those negative moments or those fires that you have to put out, or the bad employee that you had to let go, or the good employee you hired that left you, right?
But
all of those situations.
How about the good employee that you had to let go? They don't talk about that. Right. They don't talk about the decisions that you have to make that hurt.
Because you don't want to let them go. Yeah. But the numbers ain't numbering.
Or maybe they weren't a good employee, but they're a good person. And you have to let them go, right? Yeah. And so those are things that people don't talk about. But I'm glad you said the thing about getting your feet wet, because I just made a post recently about, and this applies to entrepreneurship too, is confidence comes from doing. When you're a young entrepreneur just getting your feet wet, sometimes you're scared to make certain leaps and certain decisions. The more you do it, the more confident you'll be. The more decisions you make, hard decisions you make, the more confident you'll be. Yeah. The more speaking engagements you do, the more confident you'll be. And it'll be like you just doing it with your eyes closed at a certain point.
Oh my God, eyes closed. So I was just finna say, Steph Curry takes 500 shots per day, no matter if they play in a game or not. And so the 38 shots he takes in a game are nothing compared to what he does at practice, which is why he can take a shot. And for those of you who don't know basketball, he will literally shoot the ball, and while it's in the air, he'll turn around and start running to play defense. And people are like, how do you know it's going to go in? It's because he's done it so much. The mechanics are second nature at this point. So to your point, you build confidence by actually doing the thing. And the more you do it, the more confidence you're going to get. So listen, Carmen, we can talk about this all day and all night. Yes. Not only because we have the experience, because we actually have developed a little chemistry. And the reality is, I wanted to bless the people today. I'm glad you decided to jump on and bless them with me. Let the people know how they can find you if they're not currently aware, and where you want them to be able to locate you to find out more information.
Okay, yeah. So you can check out the Black Girl Social Club at the Black Girl Social Club on Instagram and on Threads. You can find me at carmen.nicole.jones, as you can see right here. This is me. And then I want you to check out CEO Unplugged, which is my new venture, my nonprofit for entrepreneur wellness. And we are looking to get our very first event sometime either next month. That's what we're looking at, next month. And so that's been a long process for me, but I'm going to make sure that it happens very soon. So if you're looking for a safe space for, and you're an entrepreneur here in the Atlanta area, check us out.
Yeah, CEO Unplugged. I said that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that one. I know you mentioned it to me a while back, so I'm very excited about what that is going to become. Can't wait to be a part of it. But yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. For y'all who are watching it live or watching it on replay, my name is Rod Brinson. I'm the brand strategist, and I'm looking forward to continuing to serve you guys. Y'all have a great rest of your evening, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, y'all.
All right.
Thanks, Rod.
Bye. No problem.